get started. Welcome to 2026. This is Rise Above with another one of our live tutorials where I'm going to do the best I can to try to show anybody out there that's looking to make real transformation this year how to not only obtain it, but how to make it stick and how to get the most out of every transformation that comes in their life. Because what I can tell you from my own personal experience is that when you change one big part of your life, it usually tends to have a trickle effect where other parts of your life will get better because of it. And the first thing I'm going to say is that any real change, any real long lasting transformation is going to require a change of mind. All right. So that's the brain. All right. So the first thing to know is that if you're going to achieve anything that's worth accomplishing, you have to already understand that it's going to require a new mindset, a new mentality. Now, that's usually easier said than done. However, something that I realized very early on into my transformation 4 years ago, where I went from being an alcoholic, depressed, unmotivated, sorry excuse of a man, father, and husband, to then being on the other side of it. There was one thing that I attributed to it because I had already, at this point, let me see, I see some people on the chat, sorry. Shut up. Okay, Wizzo P, appreciate you being here. I will not shut up because this is actually very important for anybody that's willing to hear it. If you don't, go ahead and switch. If not, if you want to stay on here, we'll welcome you in here. Didn't say anything else. All right. What's going to achieve a change of mind? Well, if you ask most people who actually haven't gone through it, the majority will have different things that they've heard, that they've read, that would make them believe that this is how you acquire a new mindset, a new mentality. Mantras, affirmations, journaling. There's a lot of things that do help in the process, but they won't be the main component of what kicks off this neurological change that you have. And I'm going to tell you right now what it is. And I really hope, even though we have nobody here right now, I really hope somebody goes back and watches this. Because if not only for them, but for somebody they love, they can see that the quickest. We're back. We are back. I apologize about that. My battery died. I had to run down, look for an extension cord, look for my charger, but we're back. We're not going anywhere now. In 2 seconds, guys. Be right there. everybody can see this. I'm gonna go ahead and just start over because our last live got cut off. Battery died. Won't happen again, everybody. So as I was saying previously, everybody wants to change. And what do they always say? Everybody wants to change, but no, most people aren't willing to. Why? Because the Navy SEALs have a saying, which is everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. And I mean, truthfully, that's what we're talking about here, which is how committed are you to continue to living the life that you've been living up to this point that got you to where you're at now, and you're trying to figure out how to change. The question in itself should give you a lot of clarity, which is you need to understand that the world right now that you have around you is one that you've constructed. Now, most people that play the victim game will rattle off a list, 50, 100, 1,000 reasons why their life is as bad as they are. And guess what? They never seem to be on that list. That may have been you. That was me at one point. And this is what this transformation is for. This is why I created Rise Above, because those few that operate above what the majority do, they know, they are aware of that accountability. That not only everything in the past has been a result of something that they did, but anything in the future now will be a result, will be based off whatever your actions are, nobody else's. People can get upset, people can try to bring you down, but the truth is, once you start to elevate at a certain frequency, you quickly realize, or you're able to spot out the majority that aren't. And you tend to start to distance yourself when you didn't before. And you tend to not be able to really what's the word I'm looking for? You seem to have less and less in common with a lot of the people, because the truth is, to be one of the few that do change, that do transform themselves, that are able to elevate every area of their life, you know, it's very far and few. And unless you're constantly and purposely putting yourself in rooms that are full of people like that, which is part of the transformation, chances are that you're still, even after you've made a change, you're still gonna have to somehow be able to be around most of the people that have been with you in your previous circumstance, and be able to not let it affect you when they start snickering, when they start making comments, when they start to talk about you. Because guess what? You're choosing to not go to happy hour today. Instead, you're going to keep going to the gym, because while everybody is taking a nap on their lunch break, you decide you're going to go out for a walk around the street or even a run. You're going to have people make comments. You have to be already not only okay with that, you need to be expecting that when you become one of the few that doesn't settle for less anymore. That's you now. You may have tried it before, you may have failed before, but I'm telling you that this time it's going to be different. Why is it going to be different? Because I'm going to show you what you need to do. And these are things that you can do at home today, right now. You don't need to buy anything. You don't need to purchase any course. I'm not offering a course. I have one very simple PDF compressed file, what we're going to talk about. If you want to check it out, it's a link on our profile. It's a few dollars. If you don't, gravy. What I want from you is to just really take what I'm about to explain as serious as a heart attack. Because the truth is, most most of the people that are walking around right now are doing things that are leading themselves straight into a life of sickness, of poverty, of made up mental illnesses, and they'll never wake up. Most people have, I heard this summer, most people die when they're 22, they're just not buried till they're 65. You don't have to be one of these people. If you're here and you're checking this out, that means that you're already taking the steps that most people aren't willing to, which is taking a reflection and an awareness of where you're at right now, and know that that's not where you want to be a year from now. When 2027 comes around, you want to make sure that this version of you right now can't even recognize 2027. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it. I'm not just going to stand here and give you guys motivational quotes and rah rah. It's good. For me personally, personal development was the first 5 years of my of planting a seed and watering it for my transformation. But it was only part of the process, of the formula. I'm gonna give you guys the big piece of the puzzle. This piece, say you have a 25, say you have a 50 piece puzzle. What happens if that 50 piece puzzle gets broken down to a 10 piece puzzle? It makes it a much more obtainable outcome to finish that puzzle. That's what I want for you guys. I'm going to turn a 50 piece puzzle into a 10 piece puzzle for you. And if you repeat these things every day, week, give me 1 week of doing this, you have a new life. Like I said when I started, everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die. You have to be willing to accept that the old you, the old version of you, it's time. Whether it's been all bad or maybe mostly good. But if you know that this life does not serve you anymore, this body doesn't serve you anymore, this mind is working against you, then it's time to thank, to love, and to say goodbye to that old version of you. Now, when I wanted to change, there was things that were very obvious that I had already learned, listened to, and even had experienced for a little bit. Exercising, listening to a lot of personal development content, working on my finances, learning about what finances even are, learning what our monetary system is about, because truthfully it's something that nobody really ever explains to us when we're little. The schools sure don't. Most of our parents don't, because they've been taught the same things that we're then taught, which is go to school, get a good job, get in debt, die, have a debt-free funeral. That's literally the majority of people that I know that aren't around anymore. And that's not what I want for me. That's not what I want for my family. That's certainly not what I want for anybody watching here. Try it again. Okay. Sorry, I thought it died. So I'm going to go ahead and start kind of explaining where my transformation started externally, give you those same tools, that same pattern that I followed. And I'm not gonna stand here and say that I somehow figured this all out. This came from years and years and years of binging out on podcasts, of signing up for Audible and listening to audiobooks, just really trying to take advantage of any chance I had to be able to feed my mind. And this is before my transformation, because I wanted to change. I just physically couldn't figure out how to get some of those big demons off my back, specifically with alcohol. So it's going to be 4 years at the end of this month that where I changed, not only just gave up drinking, but I truthfully gave my life to God, made exercise and nutrition just part of who I am, been more aware of not just my thoughts, but my emotions, and truthfully how I then express myself with people that are closest to me that I care about. And because of the things I'm going to show you, it's going to help you in so many places. It'll help you in your work, it'll help you at home, it'll help you with just with yourself. I remember for most of my life I couldn't be by myself. Before my daughters were born, if my wife wasn't home, I needed to be at a bar. I needed to be with my friends. I needed to be somewhere except sitting with myself and my own thoughts. Now, 4 years later, 3 years in a new state with no friends really to hang out with outside of here, I can tell you that this gift of solitude has been one of the biggest blessings in my life. Not because I don't miss my friends, because I do. I keep in touch with them. But because I've been able to really go deep into some of my old thoughts, old reflections, old memory, old traumas, just things that happened that I had never revisited. And I didn't realize until after I got sober, after I began this new life, how a lot of these self-harming habits I had were just results of these traumatic moments I had when I was younger that I just never dealt with. So, just want to let you guys know how this kind of came about, and we're going to go ahead and kind of go over this, which is anything you do that's going to require any sort of effort, it's going to require mental energy. Your mind has to have enough energy for it to not just be able to come up with this thought, not just to be able to come up with a plan or find a plan, but more importantly, be able to believe that you can do it. That's where most of the mental energy is going to go in the beginning. It's going to be just in the belief that you're not wasting your afternoon today on your first day of exercising, or you're not throwing money away by buying healthy food today because every time in the past you did it, it resulted in it just sitting in the fridge until you eventually tossed it. How do you get energy into your brain? You see, that's where most people don't realize that they're starting a game that they're not going to finish because they're not giving themselves the fuel, they're not giving themselves the chances, they're not giving themselves the best bet to be able to see the transformation through in the beginning, where you burn most of your energy. You see, when a rocket ship leaves Earth into outer space, it burns about 70% of its fuel just leaving our atmosphere. You see, and it's the same for us. It's the same for you, which is most of the energy you have right now is going to be required in the beginning to get you up, to get you going, to get you throwing things away, to get you away from people, to get you into a place. Once you're there, believe me, it takes a lot less energy to make the big steps, to make the big changes. After that, it's just about showing up. It's about being consistent. And then before you know it, all these habits, all these changes become subconscious habits. And now you're burning almost little to no energy to do some of the things that a month ago you would have spent a day or 2 days just pondering it, just letting it eat away at you. And now it's something that you just make part of your daily routine. Takes up about 30 minutes, 1 hour of your day. How do we get the energy in our minds to believe that we can change? Well, it actually starts here, which is in our gut. Nobody ever taught us when we were young that our gut is actually widely known as the second brain. What I've learned is it truthfully should be considered as the first brain, because even though it may not be responsible for coming up with ideas or thoughts or awareness, anything you eat correlates directly with your brain and the energy and the function that will come out of it depending on what goes in your gut. But what does that mean? That means that if you're eating trash, if you're eating garbage, if you're eating super processed food, if you're eating junk food, there's a reason why it's called junk food. You're essentially eating garbage that's then being fed up to your mind. And even though I know Doc Martin was able to take off on Back to the Future Part 2 using just garbage, the truth is you wouldn't put trash in your fuel tank in your car if you had to get somewhere. So why would you do that to the only vehicle you have that God gave you, which is feeding it trash? So you need to begin there with your nutrition and your gut health. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of ways to improve your gut health. We're not going to go over all of them because this is about simplicity. This is about, again, giving you and giving your mind the best shot at believing that this version of you is now the new you. And the moment you start to overcomplicate things, you overload your brain, you overload all your sensors that are trying to keep you safe. And the truth is, anytime you do anything new, your brain is going to react. Your subconscious is going to react in a way that it's going to fight against it, because your brain and your subconscious, its main job is to protect you. Even if that thing that it's protecting you from will eventually be the thing that gives you the best quality of life. If you've been eating terribly for years and now you decide you're going to eat healthy, just because you know you're doing the right thing, you going to the store to go start shopping, your brain is going to automatically start putting these thoughts in your head. People are staring at you. People don't believe you. What's going to happen when you get home? What's going to happen when your buddies come over and see all this healthy food? What's going to happen when you show up to lunch at work tomorrow and you now have a salad instead of whatever you've been eating this time? What's going to happen when they want to go out to lunch and you decline and you walk out the store with nothing in your hand? You see, that's the subconscious. That's your ego. That's your brain protecting you. That's what I mean by your brain only has one job, which is to protect you. So you need to have the awareness and the mental strength to be able to know when you're going to be going to battle against yourself, against your thoughts. So when you're at the store, when you're going to be buying whole foods, meats, chicken, fish, from the frozen section. I highly advise to buying any sort of frozen food, frozen meats that are not already prepared or have not been pre-cooked. Why? Because the majority of these will have a lot of extra chemicals. It will still be processed in some capacity. And one of the major things that trips people up is the oil that's in our kitchen and the oil that's used in most frozen foods to preserve them, which is vegetable oil. So getting your gut healthy has to be priority number one. And it doesn't take nothing but starting at the store, starting on day one, taking things out of your house that you know are just gonna sabotage anything you do, and identify somebody who's gonna now take your nutrition serious. If you can identify, fuel, and let your mind know that a new you have now started running the show, your mind is in place, believe it or not. Your old mind will creep up. Your old thoughts will come about. That's always going to happen. But if you can feed your gut with healthy foods, if you make sense of vitamins, specifically D3, K2, some fish oil, which I take on a daily basis, get that together, you get your mind going. You do that, you clear up any sort of brain fog that may have been at the same time bringing your quality of life down and you weren't even aware of it. Now the beautiful thing is, once that brain fog is lifted, the thoughts, the ideas, the old passions that you may have had begin to come to light. The reason why it's called brain fog is you have the ability to see through it eventually. You just have to know what tools are required to eliminate it. What's one of the great ideas that'll come to your mind? Well, it's going to be when you start envisioning the new version of yourself. Because once you can see it in your mind, it has to fly. You see, our subconscious works in a way where anything it thinks of, it has to produce it. Now, it may not come about in the way that it originally pops in your head, but that's where awareness, that's where sticking to a plan, sticking to a formula will ensure that whatever it is you want, you can go out, you can get it, and that includes becoming the best, great version of yourself. So now that you've got all this energy, now that your brain fog is clearing up, now that you're having these thoughts, things you want to do, you realize that mental energy is not going to get you there. It's going to help you. But truthfully, anything worth doing in this life, anything worth going for, anything that's going to take you out of a situation, it's going to require physical energy. It's going to require physical strength. You're going to have to make exercising a non-negotiable part of your day. You have to set a baseline to what your minimum is going to be every day. And every day you can increase that just by a little bit, to where eventually down the road, your baseline will be something that when you're starting, you couldn't even envision. When I started my first day, I couldn't do but 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups. I now go on an almost daily 4-mile run. I go to the gym 4 a.m., bench press about 230. And these were all things that I worked up towards, to things that if I thought about them in the beginning, good chance I would have been setting myself up to fail, because that version of me then couldn't see this version yet, but it could see the version that was going to get me out of my old life. And that's what you need to do. Everybody has different opinions on goals. Some people say, yes, it's good to have goals. Some people say, no, it's not. I'm not really going to say either one, because I've been on both sides. I think more importantly than setting goals is really about setting a standard of who you're going to be every day. And if you can set a standard and have a goal that align with each other, then you're going to quickly realize that your goal is a lot more obtainable than you first thought, meaning you can get to it a lot quicker. So guess what happens after you exercise? You have more energy. When you have more energy, you can now start to put the ideas and the actions you had into place in other places of your life, in your finances, in your business, in your relationships. All these things come about when your body starts to actually feel alive again. When you start to release all the stress, all the built up negative energy that's been trapped in your body from years and years and decades of suppressing trauma, of inflicting harm on yourself, of the guilt of the people you've disappointed, you're able to finally begin to release that. The result of that will not just be a transformation that you can see in the mirror, but one that you'll feel internally. Now, the beautiful thing about exercising is where you started, which was this foreign idea of making nutrition part of your identity. Well, now it almost becomes a requirement of who you are now. Meaning, if you're already at the point where you're now exercising and you're feeling this energy, this boost of energy and adrenaline and dopamine, you're not gonna want it to stop. And you already know the fuel is gonna be what keeps that fire burning. And it's gonna be no different here to where you're gonna wanna replenish your body throughout the day, eating clean food, drinking a lot of water, making sure your supplements are up to speed, and more than anything, what not to eat. Staying away from fast food, staying away from the sugary meals, and begin embracing food fasting. One of the biggest things I'm going to tell you here is if you can begin to fast every morning and hold off that first meal for at least 4 hours, and you can get your exercise going in that time, that transformation is going to come quite quickly. Now, I remember I made this excuse before, and I've heard plenty of people say the same thing, which is, I would love to eat healthy, but it's too expensive. And the truth is, I can say that that's the biggest lie and misconception that has been programmed into our mind by the movies, the shows, everything we've watched has always made us believe that anybody that can eat good, clean dinners has to be somebody from a higher class, that has the means to do it, that only shops at the most organic, cleanest, whatever the case may be. I've heard it all, and I made that my excuse for a long time. Well, I can say that without a shadow of a doubt, if you pick just a few things that you won't mind eating regularly, week after week, you get a couple seasonings, switch up your cooking oils, and you make that 85% of your diet, you're not only gonna save money, because the price of going out now has skyrocketed so bad that it's crazy to me to think that people are going to work to jobs that they hate, to be taxed, overtaxed, to then spend the little money that they have to overpay for food that's killing them, that then requires them to go try to figure out how to pay for medicine that they're being told they need to take in order to get better. I mean, it blows my mind when I think about it in that way. So if you're able to start, like I said, just starting with a few items, buying those in bulk. If you don't have a Sam's Costco membership, I highly recommend that. Stick to that, get a couple seasonings. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to break the bank. And again, not only will you save money on the back end, but the payoff will be astronomical as far as how much money how much energy you'll have to start not just working more, not just slaving away more, but start having these ideas of thinking outside of the box of how to fix your financial situation, because you already have gone through the process of not caring anymore what people think about your new lifestyle as far as you taking care of your food and your body and your mind. That by the time you get to the financial part where you're now thinking, well, you know what, maybe now's the time that I try to do this business that I always wanted to, but I was too scared. Or I go and try to get this job, but I knew they weren't gonna hire me, and I was too scared to get rejected. Now that you're on this side, you'll find out that it comes with these superpowers to where you just don't care anymore. You just want what's best for you, and getting your dollars up is part of that. And you have no reason anymore to be ashamed that you're pursuing this thing, but you're neglecting all the other important parts of your life, your health, you see, none of that is there anymore. Now you're able to actually go after that thing that you want. It might not come as quick as you want. And the truth is, anything worth doing, any dream big enough is gonna require or no pay long time. I'm telling you this from a place of experience, but if you're doing that and you're doing it for the right reasons, then the universe has no choice but to eventually let it happen. So go after your dreams, go after your goals. And if you're already at this step in the formula, it's just a matter of time. Now, you've cleaned up your nutrition. Your brain is now a well-oiled machine that's just getting faster and faster and sharper, clearer and clearer. Your body's changing a little bit now. So now you're exercising. You've increased your 10 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes. You have more energy. You're becoming more of a student to what it is that you've been eating this whole time. And now you're going to throw in meditation. When I first meditated, first 2-3 days that I did it because I knew I was supposed to do it, but I truthfully didn't believe in it. But I did it anyway. And it wasn't until a few days later that I started to, as I said earlier, I started to actually embrace and enjoy the quiet, to be able to actually become aware of all these thoughts that were coming at me a mile a minute. Once you're able to get into that space in your head where you actually are able to recognize and see and separate yourself from your thoughts, that's the moment you begin having control of not just what thoughts come into your mind, but what those thoughts then make you do. Because there's thoughts that I still have to this day that when they come in, I have to say no, because I know why I'm having that thought. I know that there's a lot of self-doubt right now in me. I know that things aren't looking good. I know that I've been making excuses uh, too many days in a row now. And when those things happen, you're cutting off the head of the snake. You cut the head, the body has to fall. It's essentially the same thing with your thoughts. If you can begin to see all these snakes that are coming at you and take them down as they come at you, you'll you'll see that sooner than later you're spending less time shutting down thoughts and more time reflecting on the peace that you've now brought to your mind. You do that, that trickles over into your emotions, and you're able to begin regulating how you feel regardless of outside situations. You see, you put those together and you've now essentially created a whole new mind. You create a new mind, you create a new reality for yourself. Regardless of what it may look like, if your mind is now operating differently, then the environment is going to change sooner than later. Now, a reason that I kept drinking way after I ever wanted to, the number one excuse I used to give myself was that I wasn't going to be able to sleep without it. So the beautiful thing is, once you make this routine a daily practice, falling asleep is it's no longer an issue. You sleep like a baby because you've not only created so much energy inside of you from doing these things, but you've also found healthy ways to express and let out that energy, as opposed to before you dealt with multiple negative energies, toxic environments coming at you, and you just take it, and then whatever it was that you knew that you weren't supposed to be doing, whether it was drinking or eating or just binge watching TV all day, whatever it was, you never let any of that energy out. It stayed with you. And as I said in the beginning, most people are gonna die and not realize that everything that caused them to be sick and to go to an early grave was a result of their actions. If we can make sure that we're aware of our emotions and our thoughts, and that we only follow the ones, and we only give life to the ones that are going to serve us and continue to make us better, then you're going to give yourself momentum daily to build off of. And even if you have bad days, because we're all going to have bad days, the key to having this life, because this life is not for everybody, I've realized that, is to make sure that when these things happen, that you make sure that you only allow yourself to have bad moments. If you need 5 minutes, 10 minutes to be pissed off, then do it, and just make sure you don't make it a daily thing. Because eventually, if you do, you're letting the doors for all the monsters to come in and take over again. But I have a feeling that if you're able to stick with all these steps, with your new awareness, with this new ability to keep your emotions in check, that when you do run into somebody or something or situation that's almost begging you to sabotage everything you've done, that you're able to now see that this is just a test. That you can smile at these things now and say, Nice try, God. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me that this is what I really want. And I'm willing to go through it despite what's going on right now. Because I know what the old me would have done. So just to recap everything we've talked about, the key that's going to open the door to your new life is going to be a healthy gut. There's no way around it. I've tried it, I've failed. You can have a positive mindset, you can exercise, you can do your best to focus on your money, but if you're not making sure that you're feeding your gut a somewhat healthy type of lifestyle, meaning whole foods, vegetables, at the minimum, because even that is something that we can talk another 20 hours about, as far as what has been put in front of us and disguised as healthy food that truthfully isn't, that's still making people sick. And something I didn't really put here, but something that I like to be very proud of, is that I consider myself a student, even though I'm here teaching y'all what I've learned through my own life, through my own failures. The best payoff I've had here outside of the relationship I have with my family is that I stopped being a student at a very early age. That's the cold, hard truth about it. And I know because of that, I'm still paying for those reasons. But the fact that I've decided for the last 4 years to be a student, a serious student of how the mind works, of why exercise, what it does, the correlations to the brain and to the body. I've become a student of energy, of financial education, meditation, and sleep. You see, all these things here, we can have a class on each subject on its own, but my purpose, my mission for anybody watching here is to just show you guys that if you can just do these things simply with whatever you have, whatever resources you have, you don't have to wait for things to get even worse to make that change. Where you're at now, even if it may not feel like it, can be your rock bottom. You can make this your rock bottom, and you can start building off that. You can say, okay, this is my foundation. My foundation is solid now. All my failures, everything that I've been neglecting this whole time, I've been building a strong enough foundation to where now I'm done with it, I'm sick of it, and I'm gonna do everything I've been building down this whole time. Now it's time to build up. I'm in construction, and something that blows my mind in seeing some of these sites where they're gonna be building 15, 20-story high-rises is, I don't think people understand how deep they have to dig before they start laying down any sort of foundation, before the first beam goes in there. They spend months, I've sat there and watched truck after truck after truck hauling dirt out. It may not feel like it, but if you can start to look at all your past mistakes, if you can start looking at everything you've done wrong up until this point, is you teaching yourself, giving yourself the lessons that somebody else didn't give you at a young age, and to now say, okay, I can see clearly what not to do. But now this new version of me, now I'm gonna start doing the things that I should do, and I'm no longer gonna care what anybody says, because caring what other people thought of you is what made you create the life you had. It made you sell yourself short so other people can feel bigger. Because I can almost promise you that the moment you start to transform, the moment that these changes start to become a reality and that people can see them, you're going to begin to get hate from places and people that you don't expect to. But it's better that you do. Because truthfully, when it happens, you'll know that you're on the right track. When you say, hey, you know what, I did hear this before, that people that used to be very happy where I was at, even though I knew I had a lot more going for myself, that those same people now are ignoring me, or I see them rolling their eyes at me, or talking about me. Good, because the road you're gonna walk now is a very narrow road. Not a lot of people are gonna walk on it, and it's a lot easier for people to judge and criticize and make fun of people that are willing to walk down that road and stay with the majority, as opposed to them doing it themselves. And the really sad part is that everybody wants that life. Everybody wants to be special. Everybody wants to be great. Everybody wants to see what they're actually capable of. But almost nobody's willing to be made fun of, to be criticized, to be ignored. And so they spend their whole lives pretending to be less than they are, just so they can be liked. None of that matters anymore. When you go to the grocery store, everything that you used to do is going to be foreign to you. Walking down the cookie aisle, walking down the chips aisle, all you're going to do is stand there in amazement and say, I have no desire to go in here, because that's not who I am anymore. I might look like somebody who would be in here all the time, but that's not me anymore. That was me from 2 months ago, from 2 years ago, from 2 days ago. But the new me now, this doesn't make sense. Oh, I hear the thoughts. I hear them saying, you know you want this. You know this is for you. Who are you kidding? Who are you trying to be? That's your ego, that's your subconscious, trying to make you go back to who you were because it was safer there. Because it was easier, it didn't take as much energy to be this new version of you. But guess what? Because you knew that you needed to eat better, exercise, start focusing on your financial energy, because that's all money is. That's all money is energy. Is energy, and it's a transfer of energy. Don't forget that. You're either transferring energy down or transferring up. What do I mean by that? You're either transferring financial energy down towards something that's not going to serve you, that's not going to pay you back, that's not going to give you interest, and that's not going to save you time. Or you're paying money up. So financial energy going up. Up, why? Why? Because the Father's up there. The Father's up there. And anything that we pay up is something that's going to give us back something in return that'll enrich in our life. That can be in the form of interest, of paying us interest. That can be in the form of saving us time, because time is way more important than money. And if you can figure out how to buy some of your time back, even if it's a few dollars. Example, I pay $20 to the car wash that's behind where we live on a monthly membership. Why do I do that? Because I know how long it takes to wash my car. And even if I just go once every week, and I usually go about 3 times a week, it's a 2-minute process at that. And my car is always clean and I don't have to think about it. Those $20 are nothing to me when I frame it in that way. So, beginning to become somebody who practices meditation. I'll give you guys a little story on meditation. After I had been just meditating for about 4 months. Nothing crazy, just really just 15 minutes of listening to music and not letting my thoughts get away from me. If anybody's asking, okay, I don't know anything about meditation, well, really the purpose of meditating is being able to quiet your mind. And if you've never done it, you'll see how hard it actually is, because you usually can't go more than 3 seconds before a thought comes into your head. And with meditation, when you first started, you realize those thoughts are coming at you 100 miles per hour from every direction, and it's almost impossible at first to quiet your mind. But after a short time, you get to a place where it becomes more manageable, and then eventually you become very good at it. And one day, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen where an event will take place that would have normally triggered you to get upset, to whatever, would have put you in a bad place. And you're gonna just kind of go through the motions of whatever the situation is with none of those feelings coming up. And if you're aware of it like I was, you're gonna say, whoa, I don't think there would have ever been a time where I would have not felt a sudden rush of anxiety, of panic, of anger in this situation, because I've been in it before. I see now why meditation is so important, because our reality is made up of our actions. Our actions are results of our thoughts, and our thoughts are a result of our emotions. So when you begin meditating, you control your emotions. You control your emotions. You control your thoughts. Control your thoughts. You can now begin creating a reality that you actually want to be in. All right, you guys, I'm gonna end this live. I hope anybody that was on here for it got something out of it. I look forward for the next one. Hopefully any questions anybody has, go ahead and drop it now before I cut off. Matt, see you next time.